Hare Krishna, can anyone hear me? Am I audible? Am I audible now? Audible. Am I audible?
Yes, bro, you are audible. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Let me just open up. Where did I stop? Oh, 1 minute. Okay, part 3, chapter 6. Show the screen. Where is it? Okay. We will go part 3, chapter 6. No. Does anyone remember where I stopped? Did I stop in? Okay, this is where I left. I should go to page 67. Okay, correct. I should start from section 20. Okay. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Vatapatakamanam Shri Gurun Vaiṣṇavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Garjana Setam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sargalalita Shri Vishathanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshna Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Charni Nirvishri Vishnu Pashatya Devatari. Okay, so let's resume. Please do not criticize the Vaishnava. Even upon noticing a defect that has befallen him by providence. So these are unintentional defects. This regard, Sarabhajana says, entering into the heart of one who worships his lotus feet, who is very dear to him and who has given up his inclination to others. That means he is not inclined to devote himself to anyone else. The devotee has no inclination to serve anyone other than Lord Krishna. The Supreme Lord Hari removes all sinful activities that have somehow occurred to him. Without a good purpose, if one discusses a defect that has come about by providence, he engages in the offense of criticizing a Vaishnava. A good purpose, Bhaktivinoda Thakur will explain what it means. It means something that brings about auspiciousness to that devotee or to oneself or the person to whom one is speaking. For instance, one can discuss what can be done to ensure that such problems don't occur. What can be done to prevent such occurrences? Section 21, translation. The basic point is that if one discusses a false accusation on a Vaishnava and the above mentioned 3 types of defects in him, as a result of offending the holy name, there is no appearance of the pure holy name. As long as there is no appearance of the pure holy name, one cannot become a Vaishnava. Section 22. Translation. In this regard, one can have the following doubt. Is it appropriate to discuss the various defects of a Vaishnava other than the above mentioned 4 types of defects? The 4 types of defects refer to false accusations and discussion of the 3 types of defects. So 3 plus 1 is 4. The answer is that a Vaishnava cannot have any defect other than the above mentioned 4 kinds of defects, including false accusations leveled on him. Those who do have defects other than the above mentioned 3 kinds of defects have not been referred to in the scriptures as Vaishnavas. In this regard, it should also be considered that it is not appropriate for anyone to discuss the defects of any living being without a good purpose. So that's a general rule, that we are not supposed to find fault with anyone without a good purpose. Criticism of Vaishnavas is an offense. Criticism of other living beings is a sin. He who is a Vaishnava has no taste for such sin too. So we came across good Vaishnavas, better Vaishnavas, best Vaishnavas. But even the good Vaishnava has no taste for this sinful activity. He has no taste for any forbidden activity, but he certainly has no taste for this forbidden activity of criticizing anyone, a devotee, non-devotee, anyone, unless it is for a good purpose. Section 23. Discussion of others' defects with a good purpose has not been criticized in the scriptures. There are 3 kinds of good purposes. If one can discuss a person's sins and the discussion aims at bringing about his auspiciousness, such a discussion is auspicious. If one can discuss the sins of a sinner to bring about auspiciousness to the world, that discussion is counted as an auspicious act. If such a discussion takes place to bring about one's own auspiciousness, that is also good, not bad. It is for these good purposes that historical narrations such as Valmiki's previous activities and Jagai Madhai's previous activities have been always and sinlessly discussed. When a disciple prays to his spiritual master to identify Vaishnavas, when a qualified disciple prays to a qualified spiritual master to identify Vaishnavas of particular grades, the spiritual master describes people of bad behavior as non-Vaishnavas and identifies saintly Vaishnavas with a desire for the auspiciousness of the disciple and the world at large. So preaching will necessarily force us to identify who is who. This one, he is an animalistic human being. This one, he has accepted Vedic authority. This one has gone one step further. He tries to attain liberation. And this one, he has surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. So in that way, he has to identify. That is the duty of bona fide spiritual master also. So preaching will necessarily require that we identify who is who. To abandon materialistic religious hypocrites with the intention of taking shelter of the lotus feet of saintly Vaishnavas is not a criticism of saints or an offense to Vaishnavas. So when we want to identify a person based on his guna karma, let us say, based on his characteristics and based on his activities, that is not Vaishnava Parad. That is not Vaiṣṇava ninda. Even if a discussion about specific persons is brought up in this regard, such a discussion cannot be defective. So even if one discusses by identifying specific individuals by name, even that discussion cannot be defective. All these are examples of good purpose. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, they criticized others in this manner for good purposes. O readers, please consider this grave subject matter with special care. Having come to the proper conclusion, please do honor saintly Vaishnavas and abandon the association of the unsaintly. If one criticizes saintly Vaishnavas, the truth of the holy name will not arise in the heart. Therefore, it is instructed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, throwing away all bad association, one who is intelligent should become attached to saintly devotees. By their words, saintly persons cut off the excessive attachments of his mind. For all these reasons, having abandoned bad association, an intelligent person associates with saints. Actually, the point of association is very, very important. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about association of a Vaishnava, he it is clear from his other writings also. He is not just saying that if he is connected to a bona fide sampradaya, if he has a bona fide guru, if he belongs to a bona fide organization, a bona fide group, then you can associate with him. He never says that. He says you should examine that very person, because sometimes we notice even exalted persons have very terrible disciples or sons and so on. Narakasura was a son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, and still he was an Asura. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he says to associate or not associate, it is based on that very person's guna karma. It is not just I have a relationship with that person in a particular manner, therefore associating with him is good. It is not like that. We may be related to others in various ways. We may be related to, somebody might have introduced me to Krishna consciousness. So that is one type of relationship. Or another person might have given guidance to me on a regular basis. That is another type of relationship. Or one Vaishnava might initiate another Vaishnava. That is also another type of relationship. But it is not based on these relationships that we decide what is good association, what is bad association. It is based on the character of that person himself. What is he? Is he a good Vaishnava or better Vaishnava or best Vaishnava? What is he? Based on that, one associates. So in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, that conception based on guna karma has been very strongly presented by Rupa Goswami and his liberated followers. This is because through saintly instructions, saints cut off the excessive attachments of one's mind, that is, attachments to unsaintly matters, and the distresses born from them. Section 25. Do not think that even if we serve an unsaintly person, by considering him to be a saint, we will attain the result of serving a saint. The above mentioned Madhyamadhikaris need to serve saints because a Kanishtha-adhikari does not serve saints. And an Uttama-adhikari does not distinguish between saintly persons and unsaintly persons. You are Madhyamadhikari. Therefore, you are obliged to search for a saintly person, befriend him, and have mercy upon an unsaintly person or neglect him. So, adhikari literally means a person who is qualified. It means a candidate. So, a Madhyamadhikari, or to be more specific, Madhyama Bhakti Adhikari, is a person who is eligible to come to the point of Madhyama Bhakti. A person who is eligible to attain Bhava Bhakti is a Madhyamadhikari. That means he is engaged in sadhana bhakti correctly, properly. So he can be expected to be promoted to the platform of Bhava Bhakti. These are Madhyamadhikaris, and you cannot progress in the sadhana bhakti properly if you think it doesn't matter. If you think it doesn't matter. Bhaktivinoda Thakur clearly says, if we serve an unsaintly person by considering him to be a saint, we will not attain the result of serving a saint. So it does matter. If you abandon what you are eligible for, you will be at fault. This is the order of Srimad Bhagavatam in relation to faults and virtues. Steadiness in one's own position is a virtue. However, the opposite is declared to be a fault. This is the definite conclusion regarding the two. The idea is one man's food is another man's poison. So what is not a characteristic of the Uttamadhikari, it may be a characteristic of a Madhyamadhikari, may be required for that person. So Madhyama Vaishnava and Madhyama Adhikari, they will certainly be, if they are serious about Krishna consciousness, if they have understood Krishna consciousness, then certainly they will adjudicate, they will decide. They will not criticize unnecessarily anyone, but they will not shut down their intelligence. Section 26. If you associate with an unsaintly person even unknowingly, you become offenders of bhakti, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Association with those engaged in sense gratification, even out of ignorance, is the cause of the cycle of birth and death. association with saintly persons leads to liberation. So ultimately, one has to test everything by the result. Halena parichiyate. If by serving or listening to the instructions of a particular Vaishnava, I am degrading in Krishna consciousness, I am not upgrading, I'm downgrading in Krishna consciousness, then I should understand that it is association with him which is creating this trouble. And therefore, one should respectfully set aside that association. Again, respectfully, that is a method for everything. Association with the unsaintly, even out of ignorance, that is, because of not being able to know the truth about them due to a defective intelligence, is the cause of the cycle of birth and death, that is, spiritual fall down. In the same manner, if one associates with a saintly person, liberation naturally occurs. So similarly, unknown to oneself, one may be associating submissively with pure saintly persons, genuine saintly persons, then one will certainly experience spiritual progress. Anartha Nivriti is a public event. It does not require great technical, scholarly intelligence and so on. When our lust, anger, greed, and so on, when they decrease, then we know that we are progressing. When these urges and forces are increasing, then we know we are regressing. This is very, very gross preliminary symptom, but it is very, very handy and very useful for us. Okay, then we move into the next part, in which we will see the same quotations that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given. We will see all of them along with Prabhupada's explanations. So, in sections 1 and 2 of Vaiṣṇava ninda, there was a reference to Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, 15.261 purport. The verses quoted in sections 1 and 2 of Vaiṣṇava ninda appear in this purport, so there's some relationship. So I'll read out this purport. The Haribhakti Vilas cites the following quotation from the Skanda Purana concerning the blaspheming of a Vaishnava. Yoshi Bhagavatam Lokam Upahasam Nipottama Paroti Tasya Nashyanti Arthat Dharma Yashastutah Nindam Kurvanti Ye Mudha Vaishnavana Mahatmanam Patanti Pitravisartham Maharaurava Sangite Hanti Nindati Vaidveshti Vaishnavana Nandati Krudhyate Yatino Harsham Darshane Patanani Shat. In a conversation between Markandeya and Bhagiratha, it is said, "My dear king, one who derides an exalted devotee loses the results of his pious activities, his opulence, his reputation, and his sons. So his dependents also will have to suffer for engaging in Vaishnava Aparad. Vaishnavas are all great souls. Whoever blasphemes them falls down to the hell known as Maharaurava, accompanied by his forefathers. Whoever kills or blasphemes a Vaishnava, and whoever is envious of a Vaishnava, or angry with him, or whoever does not offer him obeisances or feel joy upon seeing him, certainly falls into a hellish condition." So all of this is included in avoiding offenses to Vaishnava. Also, the Haribhakti Vilas gives the following quotation from the Dwaraka Mahatmya. Karapatrascha phalyante suti vrair yamashasanai nindam kurvanti ye papa Vaishnavanam Mahatmanam. In a conversation between Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, it is said, those sinful people who blaspheme Vaishnavas, who are all great souls, are subjected very severely to the punishment offered by Yamaraj. In his Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami quotes this statement concerning the blaspheming of Lord Vishnu. Ye nindanti hrishikesham tad bhaktam punya rupinam shatajjanmarjitam punyam tesham nashyati nishchitam te pachante mahaghore kumbhi pake bhayanake bhakshita kita sanghena yavat chandra divakaro Sri Vishnu ravaman nanad gurutaram Sri Vaishnavolankanam Tadiya dushaka jana na paschet purushadhaman taistham vanchaka janai Sahavasam na karaye. One who criticizes Lord Vishnu and his devotees loses all the benefits accrued in 100 pious births. Such a person rots in the Kumbhipaka hell and is bitten by worms as long as the sun and moon exist. One should therefore not even see the face of a person who blasphemes Lord Vishnu and his devotees. Never try to associate with such persons. In his Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami further quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam, Nindam Bhagavata Shrinmams Tatparasya Janasya Va Tato Napaiti Yah Sopi Yatyadha Sukritachyutaha. If one does not immediately leave upon hearing the Lord or the Lord's devotee blasphemed, he falls down from devotional service. Sukritachyutaha. He falls from his pious platform, from his platform of piety. Similarly, Lord Shiva's wife Sati states in Srimad Bhagavatam, Karno vidhaya narayad yad akalpa ishe dharma vitaryas nibher asya mane chindyat prasahya rushatim asatim prahusched jihvan asun apitato visajet sadharma. If one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, he should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender. And after that, he should give up his own life. So that's for those who are capable. Section 8, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22.74. Archayameva Hare Pujam Yashradhyehate Natad Bhakteshu Chanyeshu Sabhakta Prakrita Smritaha. Okay, this is what it means. That devotee is considered to be materialistic, who anyone who executes with faith and love worship in a temple for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but does not pay attention to the devotees of the Lord and others. A Prakrita Bhakta or materialistic devotee does not purposefully study the Shastra and try to understand the actual standard of pure devotion service. Consequently, he does not show proper respect to advanced devotees. He may, however, follow the regulative principles learned from his spiritual master or from his family who worships the deity. He is to be considered on the material platform, although he is trying to advance in devotional service. Such a person is a Bhakta Praya, neophyte devotee, or Bhaktabhas, or he is a little enlightened by Vaishnava philosophy. Praya means almost. Bhakta Praya means almost a Bhakta. Abhasa means reflection. Bhaktabhasa means the reflection of a devotee. This verse is also from Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that one who has full love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and who maintains a good friendship with the Lord's devotees is always callous to those who envy Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Such a person is to be considered an intermediate devotee. He becomes a first-class devotee when in course of advancing in devotion service. He feels an intimate relationship with all living entities, seeing them as part and parcel of the Supreme Person. So you have the Kanishta who becomes a Madhyama and who becomes an Uttama. That's a roadmap. Antya Leela 6.198. Yadyapi, typing mistake. Not Yadyapi, Yadyapi. Yadyapi Brahmanya Kare Brahmanaya Sahai. Shuddha Vaishnav Nohe Hoye Vaishnavera Pray. Although he gives charity to the Brahmanas and although they give charity to the Brahmanas and they are great helpers to the Brahmanas, they are not pure Vaishnavas. They are almost like Vaishnavas. Although your father and uncle are charitable to Brahmanas and greatly help them, they are nevertheless not pure Vaishnavas. However, they are almost like Vaishnavas. As stated by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Samrita Pravaha Bhashya, some people, usually very rich men, dress like Vaishnavas and give charity to Brahmanas. They are also attached to deity worship, but because of their attachment to material enjoyment, they cannot be pure Vaishnavas. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam. The pure Vaishnava has no desire for material enjoyment. That is the basic qualification of a pure Vaishnava. There are men, especially rich men, who regularly worship the deity, give charity to Brahmanas, and are pious in every respect, but they cannot be pure Vaishnavas. Despite their outward show of Vaishnavism and charity, their inner desire is to enjoy a higher standard of material life. Raghunath Das's father, Govardhan, and uncle, Hiranyadas, were both very charitable to Brahmanas. Indeed, the Brahmins from the Gaudiya district were practically dependent on them. Thus, they were accepted as very pious gentlemen. However, they presented themselves as Vaishnavas to the eyes of people in general, although from a purely spiritual point of view, they were ordinary human beings, not pure Vaishnavas. Actual Vaishnavas considered them almost Vaishnavas, not pure Vaishnavas. In other words, they were Kanishtadhikaris, or they were ignorant of higher Vaishnava regulated principles. Nevertheless, they could not be called Vishayis or blind materialistic enjoyers. Kanishtha Adhikaris are considered to be almost Vaishnavas. Section 9, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalila 22.73. Ishvareta Dathineshu Balisheshu Dushatsucha Premamatri Kripopeksha Yakaroti Samadhyama. Anyone who has love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, friendship for persons who have taken fully to Krishna consciousness, who exhibit negligence towards the neophytes or who exhibit mercy unto the neophytes or the ignorant, and who exhibit negligence towards persons envious of Krishna and the devotees of Krishna, is a second-class devotee. An intermediate second-class devotee shows love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is friendly to all devotees, and is very merciful to neophytes and ignorant people. The intermediate devotee neglects those who are envious of devotional service. This is also a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. This statement was made by the great sage Narada while he was speaking to Vasudeva about devotional service. This subject was originally discussed between Nimi, the king of Videha, and the 9 Yogendras. Then section 10, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalila 22.72. This is about an Uttama Bhakta. Sarvabhuteshu yah pashyed bhagavad bhavamatmanaha bhutani bhagavatyatman yesha bhagavatottamaha. Anyone who can see the ability to be who can see in all objects. That means anyone who sees in matter, spirit, and combinations of matter and spirit, the ability to be engaged in the service of the Lord. Sarvabhuteshu yah pashyed bhagavad bhavam atmanaha. In relationship to the Supreme Spirit Soul or the transcendence beyond the material conception of life. Okay. And who can see that all beings are dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the basic principle of all existence. Such a person is advanced in devotional service. A person advanced in devotional service is within everything, the soul of souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he always sees the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of all causes and understands that all things are situated in him. This is the quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:2-45. Then section 12. This is all the Lord's discussion with the residents of Gauranga. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 15.111. Ateiv Jarmase Ekspratyanam Saito Vaishnav Kuripataha Saman. Therefore, offer respect to him, in whose mouth there is one holy name of Krishna. He is a Vaishnava. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then finally advised, one who is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is understood to be a Vaishnava. Therefore, you should offer all respects to him. In the Supadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami states, Krishneti yasti giritam manasadriyetadi asti chet pranati bhishta vajantamisham. An advanced devotee should respect a person who has been initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and who is situated on the transcendental platform, chanting the holy name with faith and obeisances and following the instructions of the spiritual master. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments that serving Vaishnavas is most important for householders. Whether a Vaishnava is properly initiated or not is not a subject for consideration. One may be initiated and yet contaminated by the Mayavada philosophy. But a person who chants the holy name of the Lord offenselessly will not be so contaminated. A properly initiated Vaishnava may be imperfect, but one who chants the holy name of the Lord offenselessly is all perfect. Although he may apparently be a neophyte, he still has to be considered a pure, unalloyed Vaishnava. It is the duty of the householder to offer respects to such an unalloyed Vaishnava. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. So the idea is that the Kulingam residents, they wanted to know from Lord Chaitanya, who is a Vaishnava that we should serve? Then Lord Chaitanya, he spoke this as an answer to that. Okay, then we go to the next one. Madhya Leela 16.72. Krishnanam Nirantar Jahar Bodhane Sei Vaishnav Shrestha Bhajo Tahar Charane. A person who is always chanting the holy name of the Lord is to be considered a first-class Vaishnava. And your duty is to serve as lotus feet. Now, Lord Chaitanya is talking of a different type of devotee. He is talking of someone who is always chanting the holy name of the Lord. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that any Vaishnava who is constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord should be considered to attain the second platform of Vaishnavism. So initially we chant on a daily basis. That's the first platform. But on the second platform, we not only chant on a daily basis, we chant on a constant basis. Such a devotee is superior to a neophyte Vaishnava who has just learned to chant the holy name of the Lord. A neophyte devotee simply tries to chant the holy name. That means he's trying to chant the holy name constantly. But he's not constantly chanting the holy name. Whereas the advanced devotee is accustomed to chanting and takes pleasure in it. Such an advanced devotee is called a Madhyama Bhagavata, which indicates that he has attained the intermediate stage between the neophyte and the perfect devotee. Generally, a devotee in the intermediate stage becomes a preacher. A neophyte devotee or an ordinary person should worship the Madhyama Bhagavata, who is a via medium. In the Supadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Pranati Bhishta Bhajantam Isham. This is with regard to a Madhyama devotee. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta. The Kanishta devotee should be respected in the heart, in the mind. Whereas the Madhyama devotee should be respected by offering obeisances. This means that Madhyamadhikari devotees should exchange obeisances between themselves. The word nirantara means without cessation, continuously, constantly. It's very important in this verse. The word antara means interval. If one has desires other than a desire to perform devotion service. In other words, if someone engages in devotion service, sometimes strives for sense gratification, his service will be interrupted. A pure devotee, therefore, should have no desire other than to serve Krishna. He should be above fruitive activity and speculative knowledge. Why is he bringing this up? Okay, let's go back. Look at this. Nirantara. So that person who is chanting the holy name Nirantara is to be considered a first-class Vaishnava, and he's actually on the second platform of Vaishnavism. And our duty is to serve his lotus feet. Now, this person's chanting is described as Nirantara. Nirantara means incessantly, that's one meaning. Nirantara has another meaning. Without any interval, without any interruption, which means that he engages in devotional service exclusively for pleasing Krishna. And he only engages in devotional service, does not engage in any other activity. So his devotional service is not interrupted. A pure devotee, therefore, should have no desire other than to serve Krishna. It should be overflow to activity and speculative knowledge. In his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Anyadhalachita shunyam jnana karma jnanavrtam anukulyena Krishna Shyavanam Bhaktiruttama. This is the platform of pure devotional service. One should not be motivated by fruitive activity or mental speculation, but should simply serve Krishna favorably. That is first-class devotion. Another meaning of Antara is this body. The body is an impediment to self-realization because it is always engaged in sense gratification. This is all coming from Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhu. So one's chanting has to be Nirantara in the sense that his chanting should be incessant. One's chanting of the holy name should be Nirantara in the sense that one cannot have any deviation. In other words, one cannot have a desire for prema bhakti, but he also has desire for moksha or dharma, pious credits, or artha, money, or karma, sense enjoyment. Yet another meaning of Nirantara is with no consideration of fulfilling one's bodily needs and so on. In other words, sense gratification. So Nirantara chanting means chanting with zero engagement in sense gratification. Another, similarly, Antara means money. If money is not used in Krishna service, it is also an impediment. So Nirantara chanting means one who is not using his money so Nirantara indicates that this person always uses his money to serve Krishna. Let me put it like that. Antara also means Janata, people in general. The association of ordinary persons may destroy the principles of devotional service. In this case, Nirantara will then indicate that that person who is chanting without mixing with people in general, without associating with people in general, such a person can be accepted as a second-class devotee. The association of ordinary persons may destroy the principles of devotional service. Similarly, Antara may mean greed to acquire more money or enjoy more sense gratification. So, if you apply this meaning, then the meaning that we arrive at is the second-class devotee. He chants the holy names without any greed. Greed is also another, the presence or absence of greed is also another criteria. These are also important to consider. It is not simply the chanting. Chanting with what? With what attitude? All of that counts. What does he do outside of chanting? All of that has to be seen. Finally, the word Antara may also mean atheistic ideas by which one considers a temple deity to be made of stone, wood, or gold. So Nirantara chanting means it's not that he chants Hare Krishna and he also occasionally thinks the way the theists don't don't think. So in other words, if I adopt an atheistic mentality, then I will naturally consider that the temple deity is made of stone, wood, or coal. All of these are impediments. The deity in the temple is not material. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Similarly, considering the spiritual master and ordinary human being, Guru Sri is also an impediment. Nor should one consider a Vaishnava a member of a particular caste or nation. Nor should a Vaishnava be considered material. Sarnamata should not be considered ordinary drinking water. And the holy name of the Lord should not be considered an ordinary sound vibration. Nor should one look on Lord Krishna as an ordinary human being, or he is the origin of all Vishnu Tattvas. Nor should one regard the Supreme Lord as a demigod, intermingling the spiritual with the material causes one to look on transcendence as material and the mundane as spiritual. This is all due to a poor fund of knowledge. One should not consider Lord Vishnu and the things related to him as being different. All this is offensive. In the Bhakti Sandarbha 265, Sri Goswami writes, Nāmāśraya yasya smarana vityado dehantra vinadi nimittaka pashanda shabdena cha dasha aparadha lakshiyante pashandamayatva tesham. In this verse, beginning Nāmāśraya yasya, we find the word pashanda, godlessness. The word literally indicates misuse of one's body or property, but in that verse it implies the 10 offenses against the Lord's holy name, since each of these leads to godless behavior. So in other words, we cannot associate with all of these persons. The Mayavadis look on Vishnu and Vaishnavas imperfectly due to their poor fund of knowledge. This is condemned. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the intermediate Vaishnava is described as follows. Ishvaretas dineshu balisheshu dushat sucha premamaite kravopeksha yakaroti samadhyama. The intermediate Vaishnava has to love God, make friends with the devotees, instruct innocent and reject jealous people. These are the 4 functions of the Vaishnava in the intermediate stage. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Sanatana Goswami is taught, Shraddhavan Jan Bhai Bhakti Adhikari Uttam Madhyama Kanishta Shraddhanusari. One who is faithful is a proper candidate for devotion service. In terms of one's degree of faith in devotion service, one is first class, second class, or neophyte Vaishnava. Shastra Yukti Nahi Jane Drishta Shraddhavan Madhyam Adhikari Sei Mahabhagyavan. One who has attained the intermediate stage is not very advanced in shastric knowledge, but he has firm faith in the Lord. Such a person is very fortunate to be situated on the intermediate platform. Rasi Premataratam Ye Bhaktataram. Attraction and love of God, or the ultimate goal of devotional service. The degrees of such attraction and love distinguish the different stages of devotion, neophyte, intermediate, and perfectional. An intermediate devotee is greatly attracted to chanting the holy name, and by chanting, he is elevated to the platform of love. If one chants the holy name of the Lord with great attachment, he can understand his position as an eternal servant of the spiritual master, other Vaishnavas, and Krishna himself. Thus, the intermediate Vaishnava considers himself Krishnadas, Krishna's servant. He therefore preaches the Krishna consciousness to innocent neophytes and stresses the importance of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. An intermediate devotee can identify the non-devotee or motivated devotee. The motivated devotee or the non-devotee are on the material platform, and they are called Prakritika. The intermediate devotee does not mix with such materialistic people. However, he understands that the Supreme Personality of God and everything related to him or on the same transcendental platform. Actually, none of them are mundane. So it's only the intermediate Vaishnavas, they are able to understand the effects of these prakrita or materialistic persons. Madhyalila 16.74. Jahar darshane mukhe aise Krishna, tahare jani ho tumi Vaishnava pradhan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the first class Vaishnava is he whose very presence makes others chant the holy name of Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says that if an observer immediately remembers the holy name of Krishna upon serving a Vaishnava, that Vaishnava should be considered a Mahabhagavata, a first class devotee. Such a Vaishnava is always aware of his own Krishna conscious duty. And he is enlightened in sense that in self-realization. So this is a Mahabhagavata. A Mahabhagavata already has self-realization. He is always in love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this love is without adulteration. Because of this love, he is always awake to transcendental realization. Because he knows that Krishna consciousness is the basis of knowledge and action. He sees everything as being connected with Krishna. Such a person is able to chant the holy name of Krishna perfectly. So he should have engaged in daily worship. He should have been living in a holy dham like Mayapur, Gauranga. Then he is able to make spiritual progress. He opens his eyes that are closed by forgetfulness of Krishna. Thus, the living entity is liberated from the dullness of material energy and is engaged fully in the service of the Lord. So he's not like the other types of devotees. His goal is to come to the point of full service to Krishna. The Madhyamadhikari Vaishnava can awaken others to Krishna consciousness and engage them in duty, whereby they can advance. It is therefore said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Loha ke javat sparshi hemanahi kare, tavat sparshamani eho chinite na pare. One cannot understand the value of touchstone until it turns iron into gold. One should judge by action, not by promises. So it's not enough if we keep hearing so many promises. I agree, I'll make spiritual progress. I agree that I will accept these rules, regulations, restrictions. I agree, I'll do the things which are required, which I'm not personally inclined to do. But nevertheless, when he exhibits through action his actual position, then that can be taken into serious consideration. A Mahabhagavata can turn a living entity from abominable material life to the Lord's service. This is the test of a Mahabhagavata. All the preaching is not meant for a Mahabhagavata. A Mahabhagavata can descend the platform of Madhyama, just to convert others to Vaishnavas. Actually, a Mahabhagavata is fit to spread Krishna consciousness, but he does not distinguish where Krishna consciousness should be spread from where it should not. And therefore he comes to the second platform. He thinks that everyone is competent to accept Krishna consciousness in the chant. A neophyte and intermediate devotee should always be eager to hear the Madhyama Bhagavata and serve in every respect. The neophyte and intermediate devotees can gradually rise to the platform of Uttamadhikari and become first class devotees. So the door is open for us. We can also move forward. So I'll read it again. The neophyte and intermediate devotees can gradually rise to the platform of Uttamadhikari and become first class devotees. Symptoms of a first class devotee are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sarvabhuteshu yah pasyed bhagavad bhavamatmanaha bhutani bhagavatyaatmanyesha bhagavatottamaha. the most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all the souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. And consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. Mind you, this is not just some theoretical knowledge. This is a realized knowledge. While teaching Sanatana Goswami, the Lord further said, Shastra Chukte Sunivon Dridashadhajar Uttama Adhikari Se Taraye Sansa. One who is expert in the Vedic literature and has full faith in the Supreme Lord is the Uttama Adhikari, a first class Vaishnava, a topmost Vaishnava who can deliver the whole world and turn everyone to Krishna consciousness. Taraye Sansa, can deliver material existence. With great love and affection, the Mahabhagavata observes the Supreme Personality of God and devotion, service and devotee. He observes nothing beyond Krishna, Krishna consciousness and Krishna's devotee. The Mahabhagavata knows that if everyone is engaged in the Lord's service, knows that everyone is engaged in the Lord's service in different ways. He therefore descends to the middle platform to elevate everyone to the Krishna conscious position. So in the middle platform, one engages in pure sadhana bhakti. And that he teaches and he also demonstrates it. He demonstrates it. Madhya Lila 16.75. So Krama Kori, Kohe Prabhu, Vaishnava Lakshan, Vaishnava Tar, R Vaishnava Tam. So dividing according to grade, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he spoke about the symptoms of Vaishnava. He referred to them as the ordinary Vaishnava, positive platform, Vaishnava Tara, the better Vaishnava, the comparative platform, and R and Vaishnava Tam, the best Vaishnava, superlative platform. So you have good Vaishnavas, better Vaishnavas, and best Vaishnavas. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught the distinctions between different types of Vaishnava, the Vaishnava Tara, and Vaishnava Tama. He thus successively explained all the symptoms of Vaishnava to the inhabitants of Kulinga. This I'll do in the next session. Let me just note down this. This is wait. I'm going to note this one. Point. Okay, let's come to that. I put a note in the group also. Okay, any questions so far? Otherwise, we'll close up.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, sir.
Prabhu, from which page you started reading today?
I should have started from PDF page. PDF page 67.
Page 67. Okay. And can you just tell me the points from where you started? Like you told that the 4 points over which the Vaishnava should not be criticized. So
yeah, there
can
are.
you
Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out that one should not discuss about the defects of anyone except for a good cause, for a good purpose. The good purpose is that which brings about auspiciousness in the life of the speaker, the hearer, or the world in general.
Okay. Before that, you told that there are 4 points over which one should not criticize. So, what are those points? This is the reason why I asked the page number, because before that it will be mentioned. So, I'm just asking you.
No, I think that this page 67. Wait, I'll share the screen. Where did it get this 4 points? 4 kinds of defects.
Yes, above mentioned 4 kinds of defects are there.
4 kinds of defects are these 3 plus false accusations. See, noted in section 28, 30, 31, 33. It is going to come. Let me just go back. Ukta Chari Prakar Dosh Dati. Apart from these, the 3 types of defects are referred to here. One is a defect that has come about by providence. Okay. Then another is the defects that are diminishing. Then defects that were in the devotees before they came to the platform of being a good Vaishnava. 3 defects. Okay. Then the 4th one is simply false allegations.
False allegations.
Mithyapavad. Mithyapavad. False accusation.
Okay. Thank you, bro.
Okay. All right. We'll meet next week. On Shakal Padar Vaishnava Pasanti Seva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namaha.